All right, thank you for listening in to another episode of Where the Fortune Is. And I tell you what, I am so pumped and excited to talk to this next guest, Spencer Banks. And there, man, just I feel like we could have multiple episodes just with Spencer, just by looking through what I know of this man, his bio. Real quick, synopsis of Spencer, what all he's gone through in his life. Incredible journey from the Bahamas. And then from the Bahamas, he actually was in the 96 Olympics representing the Bahamas in track and field. Also was an owner of a media company and radio of RUG. It stands for Wild is Real Underground Radio. And then just some incredible things there and really blew that radio station up. And then also, which I recently found out, which is really intriguing. He was an A-list celebrity barber, and is also right now is currently a full-time advising manager for the University of Memphis. And on the personal side, he's a servant of God and a minister of music, and a husband, father, and a coach. And just, man, I say what, I can't wait to dive in. So welcome, Spencer, to the show. I appreciate your time.
Man, you need an award just for that one.
I didn't do
uh,
anything but just read your bio, man.
it's gonna be here, man. And thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I know before when we were talking right before we started, doing the recording, I mean, I was just looking through here and I was trying to find somewhere like which one to start with, but it's just your journey has just been so incredible, and it's just one transition, to the other, and you're still involved with so many aspects of it. Is there a particular moment when you're going through, maybe when you're an athlete, that you had really had a mentor that reached out to you and said, "Hey, you know what? This is like you've got some potential. You could take this to, the big stage."
Oh man. Well, just I guess just I mean I guess just dating back to well, first let me give God give a honor to our Father in heaven for allowing us even having this platform because without him, none of this I don't think is it was not that I don't think, but none of this would be possible.
Hmm.
But just in track and field in general, man, I was actually a really good basketball player, and that was actually my go-to sport. And then from basketball, I went over to football, and then I got pretty good at tennis, and then soccer and track and field was it was the last sport that I decided to indulge in. But it was the notice of of the track of my high school track and field coach. Well, he was a high school track and field coach, but I was just in primary school, still just in the eighth grade, just getting ready to enter into the high school. And um, one particular basketball game, it was my very first recorded dunk.
Eighth
And
grade.
I got it, yeah, eighth grade. I got a chance to, catch the ball off the rim as one of my teammates he missed the free throw, and I come through like Allen Iverson and just kind of took it over everybody. And I should send you that picture too, but and that just got the attention of my high school track coach, and was just like, hey, you should consider coming, long jumping for me. We don't have a long jumper,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know what, fine, and just went out one day. I went out my very first practice. I went out and without him even telling me what to do, I just saw one other kid do it, and as a matter of fact, this kid was a senior in high school and was noted to be pretty good in the long jump. And I just watched him do a little jump, and I went right behind him and just did it, just duplicated what he did without even ever having to do it once before, and I beat him. Maybe like by two by 2 feet, and it was at that moment where my coach felt like he just kind of like what you said, like dude, well his words were, boy, you on, so, and that's kind of how it, he took a real liking to me, came to my house that same afternoon and sat and spoke with my mother and my father, and you know, um, asked for their permission to coach me in track and field, and just kind of planted this idea that
Yeah.
with training that this kid could, go really far in this sport. And at that moment, the love of track and field it just started at that point. So
Well.
still play basketball, still play football, in recreational.
Hmm.
But track and field was birthed at that point. So yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So you're in eighth grade. You made you embarrass the senior because I'm sure his ego was
Yeah.
deflated pretty good after that. I was surprised after dunking the ball and he didn't go up and say, "Hey, look, you have to do high jump instead of going into long
Oh,
jump." But
I did. I did. So
oh, you
yeah,
did?
that's another story. So I did. Look at your phone. I'm gonna send it to you.
Yeah,
I did the high jump. This was me in the eighth grade. And I just right where you see with the ball in my hand, I just happened to catch the ball perfectly off the rim as a rebound, and I
yeah.
just come soaring through the air, and I caught it in my hand,
What?
and
That's eighth grade. That's good.
there's, there's my eighth grade picture.
You look like a sophomore in college.
Yeah, that's my eighth grade picture, man. It was an old newspaper clipping that my sister found. She found and sent it to me. She took a picture and said, "You remember this?" And I was like, "Wow!" So yeah, but I mean that's how it all started. And
Wow.
it's been a great journey, man. The entire time. Um, took a lot of hard work, but at the same time, I just kind of felt like, and when you're growing up in an island like that, very small.
Mhm.
Track and field is it's a really predominant sport, outside of soccer. But we don't relish too much in football and basketball. I mean, we have it, but track and field and soccer is like our main two.
Yeah.
And in the track world, I kind of grew up the ranks really quickly. Kind of got my name out, and the entire time in high school, I never lost. I never placed beyond second ever in the long jump. Now I did the long jump, triple jump, and the high jump. Um, um, High jumps, I never placed anywhere less than fourth. But long jump, that was kind of like my baby, and it just kind of got the attentions of the committee. It was just when the '96 Olympics came around. As a matter of fact, in '94, right before the Olympics started, the Summer Olympic Games here that was held in the U.S. I was just a sophomore in high school, and I remember getting an invitation to participate, but because of me being in this country or in the Bahamas, they just allowed me to use my record. My record just kind of spoke for itself.
I
But
bet.
he didn't want me to go and risk, getting hurt or risk going and lose and not. Then we just take the fact that you won and just use that as your entry into, and that's what we did. I guess I would say a solid strategic plan that he used, and that's what we did. So we worked hard, and of course, every track meet, I managed to place first, first or the second. But at the time, I was the only person on the island that was doing pretty well in the long
Yeah,
jump.
I'd say so.
That's kind of how I got my invitation. So beautiful experience, man.
Yeah.
That as I come to realize now that I'm a lot older, that my coach knew very little about the long jump as a coach.
He was learning as you were learning.
Coach Drummond, as a matter of fact, he knew very little about track and field. Now that I come to realize, that's just how a lot of the sports company, the sports coaches, even here in the States, that you just have people that will fill in these slots as coaches just because the program has to go on, and they'll just kind of read books, okay, and then just
Mhm.
kind of coach as. So I think that's how my coach was. But as I got, a little bit more in tune in the Olympic arena, we realized we were doing a lot of things wrong. I mean, I was jumping off of natural ability, of course, but in terms of training, there really wasn't much training. It was just like, okay, let's do a couple run throughs, and let's work on getting your footsteps down,
Yeah.
and work on hitting your mark perfectly. And that was my actual training process, making sure that I was able to get to my board and make sure that I wouldn't go over the board and just
Mhm.
fly. And so when I realized that, man, there's so much more to it than just what I've learned, what I've managed to do. And
Yeah.
so, um, I mean, I could share one story. I know you have questions, but I could share one story about
Sure.
um, meeting Carl Lewis at this particular event, and of course, this time this dude is like my absolute everything. My
Yeah.
idol.
Oh, yeah.
I'm every chance I get, I'm trying to read up on Carl Lewis. television, anything he was doing that was on television, every track and field event that he was participating in, I would be there watching. And so now, of course, I'm on the national platform, but I mean, you have these guys, Carlos, Mike Conley Sr., the German guy, can't forget his name, but he was
Mm-hmm.
actually too. But watching these dudes warm up, man, and I'm just like, what are they doing? And I
Yeah.
don't know if you know much about the long jump, but I just remember um, the hop skip is what we call it, right? Like you take a couple hops before you go down the runway.
Yeah.
I never seen it. I never seen, I just never paid any attention to them. What are they doing? Because me, when I go, I just take off full
Bam.
speed.
Yeah.
And I just try to get to the board and jump. But
Mm-hmm.
why are they taking these big bounces before they go?
Mm-hmm.
And so my very first jump, I remember my very first jump in this Olympic game, and man, I jumped far, dude. I went way out in the sand, but I scratched by just a little thing,
Oh.
and they raised up the flag, and I was just like, ah! But the crowd was like, whoa, it was like, and it kind of got the attention,
Mm-hmm.
you know. That was a pretty impressive jump.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there trying to tie my shoes, and we had tape wrapped around my left ankle, and we were going to retape my ankle, and I'm sitting there looking up at him like, I couldn't believe it was him. And he asked my coach, like, do you mind if I talk to him and just give him a tip or two? And my
Yeah.
coach was like, yeah, sure. And he gave me two simple techniques,
Mm-hmm.
which was the hop jump, and a breathing technique that he showed me before I started. And
Okay.
I just like that. I mean, and I implemented it on my second jump. Now, me personally, as a high schooler, I managed to make it to the Olympics, just only qualifying as at 22 feet 11 inches. That was like my absolute best jump, and I did that as a sophomore. So
Wow.
as a junior. So as a senior, I was real consistent with like 22 feet 1, 22 3 5, 20 feet, 22 feet. I was always somewhere in 22, but never 22 feet 11, which I did only once. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what qualified me as a winner. Um,
Yeah.
um, and so this in that first particular jump, I ended up going like maybe like 24, 25 feet, but they never
Wow.
marked it. We just guessed it because I scratched. They never really marked it.
Oh man.
So my second jump, man, I ended up jumping almost 27 feet. So I PR'd.
27.
Yeah, I
Wow.
back 27 feet too, to be honest
Mm.
with you. And I
Yeah.
PR'd.
Don't cut that short. You gotta get every bit of that.
27 feet too, man. And for about maybe 13 minutes or so, 7 or 8, maybe 13 minutes at most, my name was like number one on the board, number one in. So the
Yeah.
way that these events go, the big boys, they don't really come out jumping until later on in they could
Mm-hmm.
they could say, no, I'm not gonna jump, scratch me, whatever. So and then finally Mike Conley, he comes out the gate, boom, 28 something. The German guy comes 28 something. And then
Wow.
Carl Lewis comes 28 something. And my numbers my name started going down, down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I say that as a story because even now, one of the things I realized, I told people, like, I'm still easily coachable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't claim to know how to do a lot of things that I do the right way, but if you show me, then I'll just take it and run with it, period.
Yeah.
And so I always use that story as an example because here I am. I did the long jump for maybe 4 years straight, doing it the way that my coach and I just thought that we should do it. And
Yeah.
then one person just came up and said, hey, try this. And I tried it and I jumped a whole extra 5 feet, just
Yeah.
based on something. So I was like, hey, I'm highly coachable, So yeah, that's my story. And then so on and so after that, my
Yeah.
career kind of took off from there.
That's amazing. Like you say, oh, just one person. Yeah, I think it was some random person from this from the stadium or some, like some fan. It was an idol of yours at the time. Carl Lewis comes by, drops 2 golden nuggets, and you jump an extra 5 feet.
Dude, man, it's and it's funny because that was the '96. That was the era of those box cameras, and I still have them. I still have, but they're
Mm,
undeveloped. And I just have to find where they are. I do remember saying that on purpose that we're not going to get these films or these photos developed, but I didn't think the box cameras was going to ever play out.
yeah,
But we've tried a couple times. My father, my mom, they would try to go find them, look for them throughout the house, and we haven't found them. But I'm sure somewhere we'll end up finding them. But so yeah, I'll use other clippings that they've kept
yeah.
to mark my little success stories.
That's incredible. So going from the track, how did it transition over into the radio? Or is that something that, I mean, is that
Well,
something you just felt with
yeah.
inside? Like, this is,
So
man, we're doing this.
2007 is when we started WRUG Radio. Now, by this time, I'm considered an old guy. So even when I came to the United States, um, when I got to the U.S., it was two things that I realized: that I was in a foreign country, and I didn't have a lot of money to support. I was coming for school.
Hmm.
So my father, he purposely bought me a pair of clippers, barbering clippers, for me to, you could tell probably back then I had a whole lot more, but he
Yeah,
bought me a pair of clippers and said, "Just find your way, bro." And
yeah,
so I started cutting my own hair, edging up and lining, and then some of my teammates, like, give us a cut. And
yeah.
very quickly, I just became like the barber of the entire sports dorm. And so got the attention of some of the elite sports athletes that at the college that I went to. An example was Lindsey Hunter.
Okay.
Lindsey Hunter at the time was a senior, as I was an incoming freshman, and I became his barber. And that same year, Lindsey Hunter got drafted to Detroit Pistons, and so he called me right after practice and was like, "Hey, I need you on a plane to come to New York to
What?
for the NBA draft. Come to New York for the draft. I'm like, can you come hook me up?
Hmm.
I'll cover everything." And I was like, and that was my very first experience. I was like, I got to talk to my coach. I don't know. My coach, like, yeah, yeah, go.
Yeah.
And so he flew.
What would you have done if your coach said no? Would you have still gone?
No, I'm like, well, no, I can't
Oh
go.
wow, I'd have gone.
And so he flew me up, man, and I cut his hair, and a couple of other guys too, man. Rasheed Wallace, oh, some other players too. But Lindsey, I
Mhm.
mean, so at that point forward, since he was a Detroit Piston, every other week or so, he would fly me up to Detroit, and I would be his barber, and him, Chauncey Billups, and some of the other players as they kind of grew. And that was just it. I just had this deal with just him. And
Yeah.
then fast forward throughout his NBA career, then my little track and field career, um, it landed me in Memphis. And at this particular time, I was kind of, I guess I would say, well known, or known at least in the barber world, and for these athletes. And
Yeah.
I would travel here and there to Los Angeles or San Antonio, Dallas. I had clients with Miami Heat, and I would just have random clients that would call me and say, "Hey,
Mm.
so by this time, when I got to Memphis, um, my wife's brother and myself, we were just talking. We were sitting around talking, and my wife's brother, which is my brother-in-law, he has a cousin that's into music. He was trying to do his little rap thing, but it was like, good clean rap. It was like poetic rap, like the Common, and not
Oh
like
yeah.
not the hardcore stuff. But he was really talented, and but he could not get his music played on the radio
Mm.
at all. And we were just sitting there talking one day, so well, we should just start our own and just play all his music. And had no idea MySpace was pretty popping at the time, so that's what we did.
Mm.
We created a MySpace page, and where we just featured this guy's music, and then all of a sudden, other people would want to send us music. Say, "Hey, can you play out our music on your MySpace?" And from there, we just kind of created WRUG Radio, and
Yeah.
it was built through MySpace. And what we would do, we would play maybe a minute and a half of someone's song, and just say, hey, and at the end of that minute and a half, you get this link to hear more of this artist's music. Click on this link, and that was the
Mhm.
drive to our actual website, WRUG Media or WRUG Radio, where you had access to all of the music, and that's kind of like our segue.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, man, it just kind of it just took off. It took off really quick, very fast, and we had no idea what we were doing, bro. I could tell you now, I have no idea what it means. What my brother-in-law does now, which he runs
Yeah.
it completely now, but we had absolutely zero idea how to manage and run a radio station. It took off really fast. Our very first paying job was Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Okay.
Somehow he got wind of WRUG radio and here in Memphis, and this is back when he would do his national address. He would address the nation once a year in this real big anticipated speech wherever he goes. And this particular year, he was going to do the address, but he was going to do it minus the media. So he took out CNN and MSNBC, Fox. None of these outlets were going to be able to have access to
Mhm.
his national address because they didn't want him picking his words and just kind of using them for sec bites and whatnot.
Yeah.
He wanted to have access to people being able to hear it. So he hired us, but basically, and said that we want you to broadcast it because we at this time we were probably pulling close to 1.7 million viewers a month, man. I mean,
Wow.
all over the world. It was quite phenomenal because we had no idea
Yeah.
that we were doing this well. But anyway, so um went when he flew us, I mean, paid for us to come to Atlanta, and we got up guys all set up and treated us exceptionally well. I'm not a Muslim gentleman, but no disrespect to his religion and his organization, but
Mhm.
those guys, man, they treated us so well. We were just
Yeah.
amazed with the entire experience. And we were probably maybe like 8 months in of starting, 8 months in, hadn't really generated any money, no leads, no. I mean, we kind of put together some sponsorship packages
Mhm.
for sponsors for that event, but prior to that, it was just me financing the entire thing.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. It'll take my wife to have to tell you the outcome of that. Like, you can't be all that money. But anyway, but yeah, we went out and we set up all our cameras and our equipment, and we managed to broadcast this national address, and we reached almost 14 million people.
Wow.
And it blew up. I mean, it crashed basically.
Wow.
Um, but thankfully we had some really good techie guys, and we kind of got it back up and running after about maybe like 12 minutes, 13 minutes. But that kind of marked the success of, and after that, man, everything just started happening. I mean, I'm talking Spike Lee became like a silent partner. He actually bought all of my equipment.
Okay.
He bought the things that we didn't have. He happened to been in Memphis for an event at the University of Memphis, and um, we went. And we was just as just participants, and we were going to try to schedule an interview with him and this, that, and the other. And um, when I told him that I was a owner, we went with posters, and we were just going to get him to sign the posters. Just and he's like, "Who do you want me to sign it to?" And I was like, "Well, sign it to WRUG Radio." And he's like, "What's that?" He said, well, and I was like, "Well, this is my radio station." He's like, "What do you mean your radio station?" I said, "Well,
Yeah.
I own the radio station." And he's like, "You own the radio station?" He said, he said, "So, um, you own the radio station?" I said, "Yes, sir, I own the radio station." And so it was like he told his security to take everybody that was behind me to tell him just to wait. So we got up and went to a secluded area, man. He was like very interested. Like,
Yeah.
black man on your own radio station. Tell me about it. How long have you been in operation? And then we showed him a couple photos and some videos that we did with Minister Farrakhan, and he was like, and I heard about it. He said, that was you guys? And I said, yeah. And from that point forward, he was all in. He was
Wow.
like, guys, you need anything? He was like, we don't know what we need, but we
Yeah.
didn't. We thought we were doing okay, and so
Hmm.
we invited him. We had a little office at the time. We invited him over to our station, and he was just like, you need to update your cameras, and we had like these, these little computer cameras that you sit on top of your computer.
Yeah.
Those little digital. That's what we use. Just kind of like now,
Yep.
we use those to kind of interact with, with the audiences, and so
Hmm.
and he needs soundboards, and and so about a month or two later, man, we got a really big, generous gift from him with that equipment, and
Wow.
we just kind of took it to a whole nother level. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so that's
That's amazing.
kind of how, yeah, and it all just kind of segued into, um, I guess I would say me knowing some of the people that I knew at the time, some of the sports athletes, and at this time I had a pretty good in relationship with some of the actors and actresses. I traveled with Tyler Perry for a little while, and I traveled with Martin Lawrence, Mike Tyson for a little while. I traveled with Magic Johnson for a while. Magic Johnson was the inspiration behind me staying away from the barbershop, because it was my goal to actually own and operate my own upscale, very elite, high-end barber salon
Yeah.
for men. And he was, and it was his wisdom that, he said, so um, you should do it the exact same way that you're doing it.
Yeah.
Keep these guys with these high-end profiles, keep them out of the spotlight, because a lot of times they don't want to have to go sit in the barbershop and be exposed to so many people, not that it's bad. He said, so you
Yeah.
should just keep doing it the way you're doing it. And I was like, which I thought would be a good idea anyway, but it just having him say that, I said, yeah, it makes sense. And I
Yeah.
just kind of catered to those guys. So basketball season come around. Dude, I used to babysit Mark Gasol when
Yeah.
Paul got drafted to the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Mark Mark was this chubby little annoying little big man child. He was always a big boy. But I was mad at I was managing I was a front office manager at the Madison Hotel at the time. This is right when they
Mm.
first I was a front office manager, and all of the Grizzlies were staying in the Madison Hotel. And Paul Gasol, I helped him and his family. Helped him get his apartment, helped him get his first Tennessee at the time. Helped him get his bank account, all that stuff situated. And when his family went back to Spain, his brother stayed behind, and I would literally, Mark would come downstairs into the lobby and just be in my face all day long, all day. And that was his favorite thing to do. He would always, we got really close, and so everywhere I went, he went.
Yeah.
Um,
That's funny.
and that's how that's kind of how I got my real solid in as a contract barber with the Grizzlies. This was Mark Gasol,
Hmm.
Trevor Knight, Shane Battier, Jason Williams, all those guys. I was that barber for a very long time. Yeah.
Wow. Are you still barbering out for a lot of NBA, or have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Currently, I still do. Yeah. Most of the guys are with. Now you remember Mike Conley, right?
Hmm.
Mike Conley, Junior. So I used to jump against his dad in '96. Remember that story?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I knew Mike Conley even when he was born. So when he came to Memphis, his dad was the first person to say, "Hey, you going to talk to my friend? Whenever you need your haircut." So, and I became. That's later on, but Mike Conley was one of my clients, and but they just kind of started with um, the Grizzlies, with Battier and Jason Williams and Paul and um, Brevin Knight and Errol Watson, and it just kind of carried through. Every time new
Yeah.
players would come through, I mean, they were like, "Okay, you'll be my barber too, and you'll be my
That's
barber too."
cool.
To Rudy Gay, Zach Randolph, Tony Allen, all those guys, man. So um, Zebo, I still cut his hair every once in a while. When he swings through Memphis,
Hmm.
or I've gone out to meet with him in other states as well. Tony Allen, um, Rudy
You
Gay.
better not lose that cell phone, man. You lose that cell phone. Somebody that's gold for some people.
That's, that's yeah, but it's just been a remarkable experience, and that is something that I just happen to enjoy doing, man. I mean, like that's kind of like my massage. Like I could sit behind a pair of clippers, man, and do that and just be like, I guess I don't want to compare it to weed or a drug addiction, but that's kind of like my high. Like I could
Yeah.
totally just let go, and it's always been like a real passion.
Mm-hmm.
Just been fortunate enough to know people that was willing to pay a lot of money for it. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I get that. Some people like to fish. Some people like to hunt. Some people want to golf. Just kind of escape, get that high, whatever the case may be, and that's yours, which is great because it's on a whole nother level. But one thing you mentioned, but I didn't catch it. You said you used to jump against Mike Conley's dad,
Mhm.
or senior. I'm just curious. Did you beat him every time, or was it pretty
Oh no
close
no
competition?
no no no. No, not once, not ever.
That was
It's,
before Carl Lewis gave you the quotes. Maybe that was with the tips that Carl Lewis gave
yeah,
you.
that was, and to be funny, I never jumped 27 feet again. I was pretty consistent with 25. On a really good day, I would get 26.7 or something. I would kind of be consistent between 25.11 and 26.1 or 2 or 3, but 27 never happened again.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember, Donald Driver played for Green Bay Packers,
Oh yeah.
wide receiver for Green Bay Packers with
Hmm.
Brett Favre. He and I used to compete. Him, myself, Donald Driver, and Stromile Swift.
Okay.
Every track meet, it would be myself. I would win the long jump. It would be Donald Driver and myself. We either go one or two every track meet in the long jump.
Yeah.
Every track meet, it would be one, two, or three between me, Donald Driver, and Stromile Swift in the triple jump. And
Yeah.
in the high jump, it would always be me competing against Stromile and Donald Driver. But Stromile was a whole nother beast
Yeah.
in high jump. Man, this kid, gosh, man, this dude could just jump in his suit, you know. Um, I'm just barely 5'5", 5'6" at the time. And I'm probably 100 and maybe 120, just a little
Hmm.
bitty feather. But I was able to get up, man. And so
What would you get up to?
my best jump was 6'9".
What? At
I was
five
able
six, you were jumping 6'9"?
I was able to clear 6'9". I did that like 3 times. So
That's
here's the thing though. Now that's good because I was at HBCU, but I was still competing on the SEC and ACC platform.
yeah.
Um, but Stromile Swift didn't start jumping until the bar got to 6'9".
Wow.
Remember
What?
how you remember how I was saying like some of the bigger athletes they would just kind of just pass. I'll pass, I'll pass, I'll pass.
Mm,
So when I started high jump, because high jump wasn't really my favorite sport, even though I enjoyed it doing it, long jump was my thing.
yeah.
But when it was time for me to do the high jump, I would always use it as my opportunity to just kind of warm up, get loose, because the long jump would be next.
Yeah.
So, but I would start jumping when they start, So sometimes the bar would be set at a 5'6", 5'8", just depends on where we are. They would just go, "Where you guys want to start?" And they'll just yell out, "Start at 5'9" or "Start at 5'5" or whatever.
Mm,
But I would always just do it because that was how I would warm up. And when the bars would get up to 6 feet, you kind of notice people kind of fading out because they would scratch, several times. But
yeah.
this one particular meet where I got up to, and when I got really consistent with jumping 6'4", 6'5", I
Wow.
started playing this. I started playing the Stromile game. Like I would be the one sitting back, and I would say, "Yeah, let them go. I'll pass." I had a pretty good reputation where I was able to do that. And I would come in at around 6'2" or 6'3". Um,
Wow.
and the Stromile didn't start. He didn't come out of his sweats, dude, until 6'9". I mean, this. Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So you were
Wow.
5'6", jumping 6.5 feet on a high jump.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
so impressive because I'm 5'9", and yeah, I did high jump, but I mean, of course, it was back in high school. But the highest I ever got was 6 foot. I came close a couple of times, going more than that, but I don't know if it was just because when I went up there, the bar was way above my head. I don't know if
yeah.
it was just a psychological game. I loved it. I was on cloud nine. I did 6 feet. I'm like, I'm only 5'9". I was talking so much trash to everybody that was 6'2" and above, But to be at 5'6" and jump that,
It was
that's
it,
impressive.
it was, yeah, and I can, just by talking to you, man, I can remember it. I'm telling you, I mean, I can remember the first time that I actually cleared 6'9". It felt like I was doing the pole vault because it took so long to get up.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was slow motion. But when I realized when I hit the ground and the bar didn't fall, man, oh, it was like the greatest accomplishment ever. And then after that, yeah, I just became pretty consistent with 6'8", 6'7", 6'9". Um, I,
Wow.
I I got 6'10". I got 6'10" and a half, and I cleared it. My back heel
Mm.
hit the bar. Well, my shoulder hit the bar, and it created the little bounce, but it didn't fall. But right when I got over it, and my back heel hit the bar in that bounce, the bar came on over.
Oh
And
man.
but I cleared it really well, but it didn't stick. But
I see
so
a
yeah,
dunk contest between you and Spud Webb.
he would win. He would win. We
Oh,
actually shared the same vertical. Spud
really?
Webb, we had the exact same vertical, but I had really small hands, man.
Hmm.
I couldn't palm a basketball to save my life. I mean, I would have to let the ball just rest in my hand like this,
Hmm.
so I could get it over. So it was almost like I was dunking with a lot of power, but I was trying to make sure I would have enough force to just get it over, because if I was
Yeah.
going like this, the ball would come out, and that
Okay.
was a lot of my mistakes that I would make because I could never hold the ball. So
Oh.
I was really good at, just like split whip, I was really good at the bounce and catching it in midstream and maybe two handing it in, or maybe
Hmm.
double pumping it or something. But I could never. I made one attempt in college to do the Michael Jordan from the free throw line. Now here I am, this long jumper that could
Yeah.
easily jump the 18 feet from the free throw line to the rim.
Hmm.
But it's a different thing because when you're jumping, by the time I'm at 18 feet, it's already now time to start to decline to get to, But
Yeah.
um, I made this attempt, and we was at this college sporting event where it was, a lot of people there, and we just come back from a track meet, and I forgot that I signed up for this thing, and just as we was coming in the gym, the announcer was like, "Oh, he showed up," and I was like, "What's happening?" And I forgot. So I went and put my stuff in the locker, and I grabbed a pair of sneakers, and I went out and I did a couple simple dunks. And when I said, "Okay, let me just take it to the next level. Let me try to do the free throw thing." So I'm going out and I get the crowd hype, and I go to the free throw, and I'm kind of making it seem like I'm going to do this dunk. But anyway, I go back and I take off and I dribble and I get, and the ball, as soon as I get up, the ball comes out of my hand.
Oh
So
man.
one of my teammates was like, "Look, let me just throw it to you," and that's what we did. So I was like, "You just jump, just get to the rim, and I'll just make sure you get the ball." And my third try, that's what I did. I jumped from the free throw line, just a hair over the line, but he kind of lobbed it up right where I could catch it, and that's exactly what I did, and I made it, and I ended up winning the winning the,
Yeah.
off of that.
Man, I
Yeah,
bet the place went crazy.
man, it did. Oh
Yeah.
man, I was a man on campus, dude. I'm telling you, that probably wasn't a good thing for me. My wife she's still suffering from that.
That's
But yeah. So just memories, man. And so I'm just kind of thankful, and all of that stuff just kind of segued over to what I've done. Even with the radio station, just because of the people that I knew,
hmm.
that kind of influential with at least helping me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you mentioned before. This is another time. I remember we were talking. You said that actually helped transition you everything you gone through. You went through in your experience being the advertising manager at University of Memphis. Just tapping in, because you had all that experience from the radio, which you didn't know, but you learned.
That's
You able
that's
to
it.
apply it here.
That's it. And I remember saying, I said to you earlier, I said we'll get to that point with my wife, because it got
Mhm.
to a point where I had some track and field money saved. I had some money, and I was doing the celebrity barbering, but we had gotten so engaged with this radio station to where we were just everything that we did I was sponsoring. I mean, I had around the clock. We called them IJs, not DJs, but I had IJs that would come in and they would have their shifts just like you would at a regular radio station. And
Mhm.
I was paying them by myself.
Wow.
And it just got to a point my wife was like, "Man, you just got to figure out, we got to figure out something because you're going to bankrupt us, just, but we
Yeah.
loved it. We loved it. And so, and that's where the whole advertising thing started. And so why don't what do these radio stations do? Like I'm telling you, we knew nothing. I knew nothing. What if
Hmm.
how did these other radio stations survive? And so I just thought when you hear commercials on the radio, they're just commercials. I didn't know that the people paid the radio station.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's just I didn't know. So
You don't know what you don't know.
my brother-in-law was like, "No, we need to try to start selling ads like the radio." I said, "Selling ads like the radio station." And so that's what we started doing. And unfortunately, it didn't work too well because this is before iHeartRadio stepped on the scene. So internet radio in a city where radio was primarily 97.1, 107.5, and some of your mainstream radio stations,
Yeah.
they're just any radio advertisers, they were just used to that circuit. They weren't
Mhm.
really too willing to
Oh, okay.
try internet radio. So it didn't
Yeah.
work that well. So I was like, well, maybe I just don't know that much about it. And so I found an advertising job with the commercial appeal.
Okay.
That's how I trained myself to go and meet people that spent money for advertising. That was my plan. Okay, well, I'll get a job with commercial appeal. I'll learn about the business, and then at the same time, I'll build my own book of clients. Just being a likable person, and that's exactly what I did
Yeah.
with the commercial appeal, and that's exactly what I did. So I was like, hey, if you don't want to buy an ad in the paper, maybe I'll call you on my other cell phone, and we would,
Yeah.
say to them, but they already told me no about the paper. But I would say, hey, well, I have another opportunity, and
Hmm.
I would talk about the radio station, and sometimes it worked. It was enough to kind of help out cover some expenses, and
Yeah.
um, and that's how I learned. That's how I taught myself the whole business about advertising. And
Which
that's
isn't easy
yeah.
because it's not like it's there's a magic formula or set recipe. You just open a book or you open up, you do a quick search like, oh, if I do, these 5 steps, automatically everything cash is going
Nope,
to roll in. You just don't know.
nope. This is before YouTube and Google. I think Google was probably relevant then, but not like it is now. But definitely before YouTube. I think we were in the Ask Jeeves era, where you go to askjeeves.com to ask him, how to do stuff. But even then,
Hmm.
that was just my way of learning. I just let me just go get a job in that field, and they took a chance on me, and I did pretty well with commercial appeal, honestly. And but it was all for personal gain.
Hey, that's fine. You're still helping them out in the same cause.
It's for personal gain, but they taught me well. I take that. I'll give them that. And so I use that platform, and then from there, I got this amazing opportunity with the University of Memphis, man. And so
Yeah.
that experience and the radio station's experience, it just kind of, and what I do with the University of Memphis, dude, it's nothing short of, I guess I would say, a dream come true.
Hmm.
It's just like it's work, but it's not like it's work. I mean, it's a very, very open, relaxed um position where I'm just given the autonomy to do what I know how to do. Go out and meet people and generate income for the university. And it's just, man, it's it's been really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. So I'm
No,
thankful.
that's incredible. That's great to hear. It sounds like, I mean, the journey's just been, great in itself going through to this point. It's almost kind of, you hear the expression of, somebody just born, with a silver, spoon in their hand, in the mouth. So just wondering, like, has there ever been a point through that transition that you went through that, who knows, you might have touched on it earlier when you said about, the finances and things getting kind of tight.
Mhm.
Was there ever a moment through everything where you had like a really kind of pivotal moment that kind of changed and there was a setback, or you really kind of look back and go, man, if I don't make a change,
Oh yeah.
this is it.
Yeah. September 5th, 2009.
Oh, the date and everything.
September 5th, 2009, 3:32 a.m. in the morning is when my first son was born.
Wow.
My first son was born. Now here I am. Now this is my traveling days with the celebrities as a personal barber and the basketball team, and of course my son's mom, which is my wife now. So we're not in a bad position at all.
Mhm.
At all, so money just coming in from everywhere. So for providing for my family it wasn't a problem at all. But
Yeah.
what I realized that night, I had to make a decision. So my wife was like, "So what are you gonna do?" because I got a call to go to San Antonio the morning that my son, that Landon was born.
Mm.
And before I even hung up the phone, my answer was like, "Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow." And I just that quick, just forgot that I just,
Yeah.
just that moment, I just, because I'm just so used to, like, yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
there, yeah, I'll be there,
Hmm.
and I just completely forgot that my son was just born. So um, I made a decision. I said, well, I don't want to be an absent father, because had I stayed on that route, even though providing very well, I would be on the road gone a lot.
Hmm.
And I made the decision then that I didn't want to be an absent father, which in that terms it just transformed me into my ministry. I kind of got way more dedicated into Christ and into church, and I had to retrain myself of what it meant to be a Christian father and a Christian husband, outside of just a worldly guy that just happened to be able to provide for his family.
Hmm.
Totally two different lifestyles.
Yeah.
And so um, it got to a point where, I would tell these guys, hey, I can't make it, got a new kid, I want to be here for this, I'll be here for that. And nobody gave me grief about it. It was like, oh, okay, appreciate it, we'll catch you on the next time. But I realized that I was starting to lose, which rightfully so. I would lose a lot of accounts.
Yeah.
Wouldn't get renewed for certain NBA teams, just because of my availability. But
Hmm.
because I was stationed in Memphis, those guys kept me around.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where when these teams would come into town,
Hmm.
I would go to the Grizzlies locker room. Well, now they have a barbershop in the locker room.
Yeah.
I would go there, and then I would go to the other side and cut my clients hair on the other side. And so that's what I would do even up to this point. But yeah, at that point, September 9th, I was just like, well, if I continue traveling, then I'm gonna leave Landon here with my wife just to be by themselves.
Hmm.
Even though it's a good thing that I was able to provide for them, I just felt that I didn't want to be absent. I didn't want to miss anything. So,
Yeah. No,
and then,
I understand 100% exactly where you're coming from. Yeah,
yeah,
because when I was in the Coast Guard, same thing happened to me in a roundabout way where we're out at sea, we're in the middle of the ocean, and a guy said, he asked me, he goes, man, what day is it? I'm like, I have no idea, man. I said, we're doing the same work. We're hustling, we're out here search and rescue. We're training, we're doing just shipboard life. It's just, I mean, we're out in the middle of the Atlantic. Like, I don't know, man. Tuesday's Friday. Friday feels like a Wednesday.
yeah.
And all of a sudden he stopped and he goes, man, my daughter turned 10 yesterday. And
Wow.
he forgot to send an email. And I thought, to me, I'm thinking that's a momentous time. Kids, they love getting older. They want to be older.
Mhm.
And they go from 9 to 10. Now you're in double digits. You're
Yeah,
close to
yeah.
13. You got these little milestones. You're counting down when you're a kid. And I thought, wow, if I ever find a woman, if we're ever going to have kids, I'm going to get out of the service. I knew at that moment, like that's what's happening. And then I met my
Yeah.
wife, and then once I met her, I thought, okay, I got to transition out of the Coast Guard. But if I hadn't met her, I'd have stayed in. But I mean, I do not regret any of it all. Getting out of the service is just because the same thing. I wanted to be there, for my kids. I don't want to be gone for months on end.
It's you know, man, and I don't know if you remember, but Mel asked us this question in one of our meetings. And it was one of those questions where I felt like it for the first time that I didn't really just have an answer, but she was like, we were talking about how the pandemic may have affected us,
Hmm.
personally in terms of finances or and I kind of struggle with that question because I mean, I love making money. I've never had any problems having it or making it. But there was someone who used to always say that you can never be a good salesperson that if you didn't like money, and I always struggle with that because I'm
Yeah.
so I'm not money is not my motivation, and that's like, oh, you'll never be a great salesperson if you're not motivated by money. Who's not? And that's something that I took pride in by saying that I'm not just motivated by it, which allowed me to enjoy the things that I was doing that helped me to generate it.
Yeah.
But that wasn't my main. I'm just doing what I enjoy doing it, and the benefit was the rewarding of having financial compensation.
Hmm.
And at the time, dude, I'm talking. Oh my gosh, man! Wow. Thankfully, I'm a taxpayer. But I mean, I was doing. Those guys, they have to pay a lot, and I didn't know it.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know. As a matter of fact, that's another thing that Magic Johnson taught me. He was like, because I would be like, you're a celebrity, and I was like, man, look, just thank you for allowing me
Yeah.
to do it. No charge, and I was very professional. I didn't ask to take pictures or, don't sign autographs. I come into your hotel room or wherever you are, your office, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll do what I do quietly and just let you be who you are. And I
Yeah.
go by my business. And a lot of guys, man, they all really respected it.
Yeah.
One day when I met Magic Johnson, matter of fact, this is in 2005 or four. I think this is when Mike Tyson fought to Lennox Lewis, and Magic Johnson was kind of like in that promotion stage where he was involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing the after party for Mike Tyson at the Cadre Building. He hired me to do that,
Wow.
and in the course of us talking about the details of this event, I was shaving his hair,
Mm-hmm.
and it arranged for Mike to come in, and I ended up giving Mike Tyson a haircut as well. And after Mike was giving himself a look in the mirror, and he was like, "So what do I owe you?" And I was like, "Look, Mr. Tyson, absolutely no charge. It's an honor." And Magic was like, "Hold up, young man. Hold up." He said, Are you a barber or are you not?" I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "Oh, do you do this compensation or don't you?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do." He said, "So you don't?" He said, "These guys are required to pay. And he said, and don't short yourself of a talent that you have that allows you to put food on your table. Yeah, it's a privilege and we respect it, but this is a livelihood." And he's like, "So don't, just don't do that again." And
Mm-hmm.
just kind of got me thinking of it, because that's what I would do. Even though sometimes they would give me money anyway,
Yeah.
but I would always be like, I was thinking that I was just taking a humble approach. "Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Privilege is a pleasure. You
Yeah.
know, whenever you're in town, call me again." That's kind of how I know you like what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it just kind of changed. So it got me to the point. It's like you can't accept no less than $200 or $300 from any of these guys. So when they ask you, you tell them. And if anybody pull their wallet back, you tell them Magic said it. And that was kind of like his thing.
Yeah.
But that's what happened when I started creating prices for these guys. You
Yeah.
know, dollars and sometimes more, depending on who they were. And
Yeah.
some, you know, and just kind of like open my eyes to just kind of like taking pride in what I did and just having something that just. But the point that I was making is that money was just there, man, and then but you felt it, you know, when I made the decision to kind of pull back and just kind of
Oh yeah.
focus.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was one of the best decisions that I know I made, because what it did, it planted me to become more of a solid Christian, planted me to be a known father, which is not really common
Mm-hmm.
into society, especially amongst my kind. Um,
Wow.
and it just kind of propelled me, man, to, I guess, to be talking about it years later with you on your
Yeah.
podcast, dude. I'm telling you, I'm so thankful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't realize. I just looked down. The time has flown by, and which is great and a good thing. I'm sitting thinking, I love it, man. There's so many. My mind is just racing because I'm hearing so many like stories within a story that you've just mentioned, and I'm like, oh, I want to dive into that more, and just because
Yeah.
explore that world, because I mean it's something that it's just fascinating. I think not only to me, to a lot of people out there. It's just cool to hear that, because it's you carry yourself with such humility, and
Mhm.
I respect the heck out of that. Because I remember when the first time, I mean, I've known you now for about a year, but I remember you mentioned something about cutting hair, but the way you mentioned it about cutting, it was, I can't remember what NBA player it was, but it kind of caught me off guard because you just said it so casual, like it was. I mean, I know you're used to it clearly by your stories that you
Mhm.
tell, but I just respected that because it didn't come off very braggadocious, wasn't arrogant. It wasn't, look at me. It was just, yeah, it's just, hey, I do this, and it's just something I do on the side, and it's great. So I would love, man. You probably already have the idea of it, but just to see you write a book and just to die. I mean, you that thing would do well. You could give part of that. I know you don't want like for the money
Yeah.
aspect of it, but you could help your family out. You can give money to charity. I mean, there's so many avenues you could go with that. Set a a fund up for your children, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But it's just so cool. You just have such I can
Mhm.
tell you got such a great heart and you carry yourself humility. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be on the show.
It's been a real pleasure, man. Having a whole segment centered around me. And so, but no, but it's been a pleasure, man. And again, it's just like you don't really just kind of like how you talked about your planned decision with you and the being in the service, and you calculated your next pattern by saying you took someone else's, I won't say misfortune, but it was ordained in a way to where it had an harmonious effect on you to do something a little different, so you wouldn't have to experience it. My situation, I would like to think that they're all calculated, and I just think that I just accepted the alignment that I was given without just having to second guess anything, because it all just kind of segued from one point to another, and there would be no way that I could have enjoyed what I've enjoyed. I mean, I got a degree in biology pre-med, but I'm not a physician, and I never
Yeah.
stepped foot in. But that's what I came here to study because of my
Mhm.
mother, being in
Yeah,
medicine. Um, but I wouldn't have this amazing journey had I just been just that focused on medicine.
that's true. And you
I,
probably wouldn't have the journey either if you'd have been focused on money the whole time, and you
yeah,
weren't focused on money. So you're just enjoying
yeah,
the ride, enjoying the journey. So that's a good thing too. And those that
yeah.
I feel that put money out there first, man, it's almost like a detriment to the career and the path they're going to take, because they lose sight of everything that's going on else around them, and they lose that joy in it.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I found it very difficult to answer Mel's question when she asked that, because I was like, I don't want to seem like I got it all, and I don't need to work, and I don't need to make, because that's. But it was contradictory as to how I was feeling.
Yeah,
Just by saying, after this pandemic, I just realized that money really and truly isn't everything, man. Because we're every day that we leave the door, we're subject to die within the next 14 days.
yeah,
Literally, the
mhm,
minute that you walk out the door to go do whatever, you're taking a risk of being exposed to something that could take you out 14 days and counting,
yeah,
and it has nothing to do with money at all. So
yep,
I just started thinking a little differently, man. And so thankfully, bro,
mhm,
we've managed to do what we could to stay healthy and stay minus this virus. And, I'm
yeah, yeah.
hoping to
Well,
stay.
stay strong, man. I know, give our best to the family. We'll be saying prayers for y'all. I know
Appreciate it.
we'll be talking again here soon. At
Yeah,
our weekly meetings that we have. But I can't thank you enough for your time.